Hello and welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart and welcome to a bit of a review of the Sarissa Precision 15mm Waterloo Haye Sainte kit. So I picked this up from Warlord Games. I think at the time I bought it, I don't know, at the time you're watching the video, it's only available as part of the Epic Battles Waterloo release from Warlord. I'm sure Sarissa will add it to their own store if they haven't already. Soon. They did with the Epic Battles American Civil War buildings they produced, so it looks like it's a sort of shrunken down version of their existing 28mm kit, shrunk down to 15mm to work with Warlord's Epic Battles range, which is 13.5mm, so a little bit smaller. I'm always a big fan of the Sarissa kit, so it's a bit of a review. I'm not going to go into it in massive detail. I'm not going to build the kit on camera, but I will have a little bit of a look at it, go away, build it, and come back and show it off once it's all built. So I've removed the cellophane. Sorry about the little bit of the glare on the top, but as usual with Sarissa, you get a sheet that sort of details the model, the different areas, and you have your assembly instructions, and they're usually pretty comprehensive. I've only ever found the odd one or two things that I thought would have been better in a different order, and that's probably just the way my brain works more than anything else. So it's one of the things you get with Sarissa over some of the cheaper MDF producers of terrain out there, and Sarissa aren't expensive, but there are some sort of more budget ones out there. I found you don't get the kind of the engineering isn't always quite as good, and you do tend to get very, very good instructions with Sarissa. So if you want to, you pay for a decent premium product, and I think you definitely get that. So I haven't built it yet, so I can't review how the instructions were good, but they do look pretty good to start with. And then we have your sheets. And as usual with Sarissa, they're always really, really cleanly cut. I've never had any problems removing them from the sheets. Sometimes some manufacturers, again, I found that I need to get the knife in there. These tend to push out quite nicely. All looks pretty good. Obviously there's lots of parts in this kit. So I imagine this won't be a 10-minute build. This will be something that takes a little bit longer. Make sure I don't lose that part there. Pretty much what you've come to expect from Sarissa kits if you've had them before. Lots of layering for the extra detail, using the thinner card here, so for the roofs and some of the doorways and things. Here's the last sheet, so that's some of the main areas. And then the back of it always gives you the image of the finished painted version, and a little bit of history around it. But anyway, that's a quick look at the kit itself before it's built. What I'll do now is I will go away, build the kit, and then we'll have a little look at it when it's been put together, and I'll discuss how well it went together, whether there's anything I learned from putting it together. So there we are, all built. I did it quite slowly actually. This is on my, those of you who are following along other videos on the channel, I'm currently locked down with the family at home because we've all got COVID. So I was playing with the kids, and my wife was taking some time to do some work in her office, and my youngest 2-year-old was happily watching telly and playing with toys, and my 7-year-old was being a pain in the bum. So I thought I would try and get him to help me do this, and it was great. It was a really nice couple of hours slowly building this with him, and it definitely stopped him running around and being annoying and winding up the younger one. And so I normally cheat with these and break the rules, and I tend to build them with super glue to speed it all up. But this one I took my time and I used Gorilla Glue, but a good PVA, but a good one, not Gorilla Glue, something a little bit thicker and faster drying. And the kit went together fantastically. I didn't have any problems. The instructions were really, really good. Sometimes I've missed a bit. It's probably down to me, or I've read something wrong, but I read them in order, took my time, partly forced myself to because I was reading through with my son as well, and it shows that sometimes if you just slow down a little bit and take a breath, that things work okay. Someone's now going to message me and saying, I think you missed this bit or something like that, but oh well, so be it. There's been a bit of a chat actually in one of the Facebook groups today, the one that Ken from Miniature Wargaming Warriors and I set up, about whether to stick with these on bases or not. And I did think about it. I thought, well, maybe I need to put on a bit of a base, but I think I'm going to leave it separately because I really want to be able to use the buildings on their own for different scenarios, because that would work very well as a farmhouse. You've got the barn over here, which works very well by itself. Obviously, you're unlikely to use that, but I suppose you could put it in the corner of the table to represent something. There's all kinds of things you could do anyway. So I'm going to leave them as separate parts, and it also makes it a little bit easier for me to store them. I've left the roofs removable, obviously in black powder. You can put units inside buildings, and apart from that little one I probably could glue on. The larger buildings have got space for epic stands in, and you could easily occupy those buildings and make full use of the building's rules. But they're really, really good. So what I'm going to do now, rather than end the video here, I'm going to go away and paint this, and then I'll come back to you at the end when it's fully painted. Now, when I come back to you, hopefully I won't be croaky. I probably would have been out of isolation for weeks, because I'm not sure when I'm going to get a chance to do it. But for me, it may well be a month, maybe it will be a couple of days, may not be a year, who knows. For you guys, it will be only a matter of moments before I come back with the painted model.
Wait, what's this? Not the painted model. I thought I'd just stick my camera on and do a bit of time lapse, so to speak, while I was working on it, just to give you a bit of an idea about how I did it. So it's a black prime, and then a very heavy white dusting over the top, still leaving a little bit. It's not quite zenithal, but it's leaving a little bit of the shade in there naturally. And then I started tacking it with contrast paints. So we've got black Templar and a little bit of Sigil brown in there while it's still wet. Downward strokes just to make it kind of, when it dries, it looks like streaking. And then for the sort of the redder roofs, it's Gore Grunter and Sigil brown, similar method. Just streak it down, and when it dries, you get a nice pleasing effect. I think that's Militarum green, but any of the contrast dark greens will do really. And that's doing all of the wooden doors, and it looks like on some of the images that you can see, God knows what it was like at the time. The brick was painted or a darker grey or green, so I just thought, well, I'll stick the same green over it all. I'm sure if I did enough research and read, I'll be able to find a description of it at the time, but yeah, this will do. This matches a lot of the pictures I've seen. And then I've gone back over the roofs again and just put some more streaks in, mostly green, just sort of embolden them a little bit, just to really build up that sort of weathered look. And the plan there really is to try and start building up texture without building texture. Here we are, just filling in the exposed brick areas with Gore Grunter again. Again, as soon as you start doing those, they really start to sort of add a little bit of detail in the building, starts to come together. Then I sort of filled in the sort of few bits of floor area just with Sigil brown. I was going to add texture paint onto it afterwards. And now some streaking. So this is Agaras Dunes. Just put it on the top, fresh watery brush afterwards, and just streak down, blend in a little bit. It's a bit like painting with watercolour in some ways. And so this is all contrast so far. I know I use contrast a lot, but I just find it incredibly versatile. And you can use it as if you're painting a picture, I suppose. I haven't done any proper artwork for years, probably not since A-level, but people out there that do paint will probably recognise the way you can use it in that sense. So just painting these glazes in, again, this is adding the feeling of texture and lived in life without sort of adding real texture on there, without adding sort of textured paint layers and things and then trying to paint it afterwards. Now adding a bit of green. I think it's camo green or militarum, I can't remember. I can't see from the pot there either, but it doesn't really matter. It's about sort of adding a few more streaks in green as well to give you more than one colour in the streaking and just give it that kind of weathered look that white buildings tend to get after they've been rained on a few times, and that part of Northern Europe will definitely see its fair share of rain, and as it did so before the battle itself. Now I'm sponging on some white, and the reason I'm doing that, it sort of softens some of the streaking a little bit and means the white is not just so mono texture really. There's already a little bit of grey and black coming through, and by adding the sponge in, it just kind of really finishes it off. Now this bit, my camera work was a bit crazy. As I said, I set it off to the side while I was actually just pottering along and working, listening to an audiobook, but I'm actually brushing on dry pigments to the around the doors and the brickwork and things, and yeah, you can't really see that from this horrible blurry sped up image, but you'll see it at the end. And I'm also brushing it onto the roofs a little bit as well. It just goes into the ingresses a little bit, and makes it look a little bit more dusty and weathered. Now it's some Vallejo thick mud texture. I'm just going around the edge of the whole building. Just when it dries, it's sort of it looks semi-mud, semi-thick, semi-wet. The thicker you go, the wetter it'll look on its finish. So I'm not gone too heavy, but it's just will help it blend into the matte, because I'm not going to be putting this on a base, so it makes it look like it's in its environment. And I'm using the same method on my basing for my epic models, and then I'm using the same tufts and just putting a few around the edges as well. Little bits you haven't seen, I have put some texture paint on the flat areas and washed them with Agrax Shade before adding a little bit of pigment. But other than that, you've pretty much seen the whole thing. And there we are. It didn't take too long, to be honest with you. I'm pretty pleased with the final result. It's got a couple of little bits now I can see that I want to touch up, but as we have seen, that the process was pretty fluid throughout. I didn't want to turn it into a big thing, really. Obviously it's an important building, but also it's in 15mm, and I've got an awful lot to paint, and I want to concentrate on painting the models to play the games, as well as the terrain, yeah, I think it does the job, to be honest with you. There's definitely some bits I could go back and add a bit more detail in, and I may well do that at some point, but I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. And it was a bit of an unusual video in the end, this one. It sort of turned into a kind of a review, and then just a kind of a time lapse, I suppose, as I put the model together and painted it. I just wanted you to see really how I worked, and what you could get out of the kit. And what you can get out of any MDF kits, really, if you work that way. But like I said before, I'm always impressed with Sarissa kits. They go together very easily, like this one did. They look pretty good when they're built. There's a decent amount of detail on them that you can pick out while painting, and with doing a very basic paint job on this, like as you've seen, very little detailed brushwork at all, really sloshing it on. And I quite enjoy that. It's really quite liberating. I put an audiobook or put some music on, and it's very relaxing. And I think the results look pretty good. And I mean, if we kind of have a little closer look here, if I pick up a couple of things, you can see quite well that it just gives the effect of that kind of dirty whitewashed walls, and the tufts on the edge, and the mud effect that I put on, and the weathering powders there, just to add a little bit more sort of weathered in look. Just does an awful lot over what is really kind of relatively flat colours through contrast and airbrushing and things. It's all about creating little tricks and things. But I think it's come out okay. I'll pop some better pictures up on the screen now, because it's quite hard to kind of get the camera around, so I'll put some stills up of it on the table setup, and it'll be interesting building up the rest of the table around it for my Waterloo based games. But anyway, so thanks very much for watching the video. If you have any questions, do put them in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer. If you maybe like to see a full tutorial that's not sped up with me going through, I have recently done a tutorial on one of Sarissa's American Civil War houses. That's probably about 10 videos ago maybe, but maybe worth checking that out, because it uses some of the similar techniques that I've used in these, and it's a way really of creating texture on flat walls without adding too much actual texture, and doing it with sort of washes and glazes and a bit of stippling here or there, just to create the effect of a lived in sort of building and things. But I will probably follow it up with maybe a smaller tutorial in a short time, maybe for a bit of Bed Alliance or something like that. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Consider giving us a like, consider giving us a subscribe, and I'll catch you all soon.